course, every Tuesday. We do the Tuesday with Thompson, look back at the weekend. Week 1 is now in the books. Eagles game. I think the PT was at the Phillies game last night. That's an interesting development there as the Phillies lose their season, kind of hanging around on life support. But I'll ask you this. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the show, Peter. How was the crowd for a game last night for a team that's in a pennant race, 2 games back with their ace on the mound, playing the division-leading Braves?
Pathetic, weak, announced at 25,071, but no way they had more than 18,000 people in the building, so that might have been what they sold. It was band night, so, a couple of the sections were full because the bands are pretty large, but it was awful. I mean, Nola was not Nola right off the bat. The very first guy steps up, Ronald Acuna Jr. takes him out. I was like, oh, boy, this is going to be a long night. I mean, Braves were up 4-0 by 2 full innings, and even when Corey Dickerson walked into one and, in one swing ruined the perfect game no-hitter and shutout of Mike Fultonevich, the highlight of my entire night, Mike Gill, was seeing Dan Baker walk through the Hall of Fame Club on his way to the PA booth. That was literally the highlight of my entire night.
Yeah, well, it's a shame because they were at 2 games back. I didn't realize they were 15 games behind the Braves, but that loss last night puts them 3 back. They got the Braves. They got a long road trip coming up. It, again, looks like a September that can just kind of start getting away from them if things don't turn around soon. And guess what? There has been no evidence of something turning around for this team in the recent season. I mean, they're about a 500 team since they got – I thought about this the other day, Peter. The Sixers were in the playoffs, and the Phillies were playing really well. And then as soon as the Sixers got eliminated and all eyes were on the Phillies, they went down the toilet. And
folded like a cheap paper bag, yes.
Yeah, I mean, they just haven't been able to really get on a run. So I'm wondering that now that no one's paying attention to them, maybe they can, get off, but it doesn't seem that there's any evidence that that's about to happen.
I don't see anything of that happening. I mean, look, there was another karma moment last night when a guy broke for second and JT Realmuto went to throw him out because he's been so automatic and like probably the best defensive catcher in the league this year. Could you argue that? And he goes to throw the guy out and in transferring the ball from his glove to his hand, drops the baseball. I mean, that was like somewhere in the 7th and I just thought to myself, that's it. This team has no chance tonight. I mean, but of course, like the loyal fans we are, we stayed all the way to the end.
You stuck it out to the end there, Pete.
Absolutely. Now, my father was having some cat naps there. He was sleeping, sitting straight up, which is pretty funny. But the other thing that was funny was there was a foul ball that came back up toward the Hall of Fame Club, and it kind of ricocheted around off the front of the press box. And there must have been
Look at you, Hall of Fame Club seats there, Pete.
Oh, yeah, we had good seats. Hall of Fame Club, right behind home plate. Very respectable like. So the ball ricocheted around a little bit, and they started heckling Mike McGarry from the press of Atlantic City.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny. So
Fine.
I don't think they knew I was sitting there, but I texted him and said, you're getting heckled. He's like, I know, and I said, of course, the guy called you McGarry, so, it's not like he's totally on point, but fine.
All right, that was last night, and, of course, the Phillies lose that game. Sunday, we had the opener, and a lot of people, all right, before the game, we were wondering what kind of Eagles are we going to see, what's this team going to look like. So what was your overall impression, PT, on the Eagles opener?
Well, I mean, it's about time they woke up because the first half was, it was just disgusting. I was out at that brand new book at Bally's, and boy, what a nice job they did out there, Mike Gill. They really spent a lot of money to get it spiffed up and looking good. Gigantic TV screens, that first ever self-serve beer wall, which the PT did not partake in because the MG and the PT had a few of those the night before, full disclosure. So nevertheless, that first half, you could just hear the rumblings of people getting ticked off. I was going to stay till half, and I just got so fed up that I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave now. And the minute I broke out of the Bally's parking garage was that first Wentz to Deshaun Jackson touchdown.
Did you listen to it on the radio?
Yeah, I was listening on the radio. Even at halftime, when they're down, 20-7, it didn't look good. But I think the running game helped them get back in it. I think the fact that, Deshaun Jackson, what a great welcome back for him. Boy, is that There's nothing more exciting in football than the deep ball. And Carson said they were going to do it. Run as fast as you can, and I'll chuck it as far as I can. Well, that worked twice, and it was pretty nice.
Yeah, well, they did it twice. They got an opportunity to showcase what that tandem could look like. And, that was pretty exciting to see. But anything else in the offense, I thought Wentz really, that was my biggest significant, the most significant takeaway for the game for me was that Wentz looked like Wentz.
Very much so, and he didn't have to run much, and but he had to move in the pocket. I've watched the highlights a bunch of times now, and when he would move and roll to his left, escape a little, and find Ertz for a first down, or he rolled to his left one time and found Dallas Goedert. He made the right decisions. He was nimble on his feet. He didn't try to force things. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. He looked like Wentz. Now, I've heard you guys talk to John McMullen and this running back by committee. I was confused. I didn't understand why Jordan Howard disappeared, but according to Doug, Darren Sproles was what was working. But I would love to see the Eagles with a bell cow back. They don't have one now, so you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, is it enough that it deters you to think that they can't? I mean, they won a Super Bowl with a committee approach. So is it enough to say, you know what, if they don't, like to me, the Sproles thing was, like, they kept giving it to Sproles, and I'm not, like, anti-Sproles. It's just, like, I don't know that I can lean on him all season long. The guy's been hurt the last couple of years. I don't know that he's the guy I want to be kind of like the lead touch, a ball carrier. Now, Miles Sanders ended up being, like, the leading carrier, but he was the least productive of the three.
Right, although Miles Sanders would have scored on the one play where Vitae had a holding penalty, so that got called back. Miles Sanders did some nice things. Look, I've heard John go back and forth, too. Like, yeah, you make the argument, well, they won a Super Bowl by committee. Yeah, but I loved what he said yesterday, that maybe they won it in spite of the fact that they used the committee. And you said, well, what about the Patriots? And he goes, well, that's the outlier. So, it's like watching the ping pong match. You guys are just volleying that ball back and forth. To tick, to tick, to tick, to tick, to tick, to tick. Boom.
Yeah, well, I know that a lot of people were jumping on board of that on Twitter and Facebook, and calling him like the old man, like get off my, like kind of had the all get off my lawn approach, because you do see a lot of teams that kind of split their carries up and kind of do that. But his point isn't that so much, is it's more that these guys don't know what their roles are. They all have, according to the Eagles, very similar-esque roles. Like, they all had a very similar amount of carries and touches, and it's not like, hey, you're the guy that's going to do this, you're the guy on third down that gets that, and you're the guy that's going to catch the ball in the back. But they all seem to have a little, like, they haven't had – it's like a bullpen that doesn't know what they're supposed to do. Who's the closer? Who's the setup man? Who's the long man? Like, that's what it looks like.
Right, and hopefully, well, if that's the case, then hopefully the vertical game can continue to, they look, once they went to it's no coincidence to me when they came out in the third quarter and they started trying to run the football, that the vertical game opened up, the mid-range passing opened up, everything seemed to open up, and by the way, I totally forgot to mention, do you know how much money swung on that final touchdown? As I was sitting out there at Bally's the Book, and I started thinking about it the next day, because most places, I think you close with the Eagles -10, right? And it was a 12-point lead going into that final series with the Redskins. The minute they scored, I saw estimates of like, $500 million, like it was like, or $500,000, excuse me. It was $500,000 on one play of Eagles fans losing money and the casinos going, oh, thank God.
Fine. Yeah, well, we were talking about this yesterday. So the Eagles were part of my 5-team parlay. Do you know that, Peter? I hit a 5-team parlay on Sunday. Now, Josh doesn't think I'm allowed to talk about it because I didn't talk about it on the air.
Oh, so he's saying that only because you won, now you're talking about it, kind of thing?
He's saying that after the fact is over, you shouldn't be saying that, hey, I won the 5-teamer, since I didn't bring it up on the radio, I guess, Friday. I was on Saturday.
Ryan hit a ridiculous parlay once, and he didn't talk about it beforehand and certainly talked about it after.
Right. Well, the Eagles were a part of my 5-teamer, and I was a little concerned early in that game, not so much, because I had them on the money line.
Right.
But I was concerned.
The money line was where people salvaged that was the one part where they didn't screw you.
Yeah, well, I was concerned that, you were going to get one of those week ones where you're kind of like, well, that just happened. You know what I mean? And then as soon as Jackson hit that big long ball, that's when I kind of turned it around. But John brought up the play yesterday when they got the fourth down on the sneak with Carson Wentz. I think that was an underrated spot in the game. And then there was a couple other, moments in the game where you just kind of felt like, all right, they got this. And their talent just kind of ran away from them.
Well, I love the fact that nobody really made a lot about this, but everybody loved to talk about Deshaun Jackson and the home run threat. How about the fact of what he said in the locker room at halftime? He went into the locker room reportedly and told the Eagles, "I've been in that other locker room. Those guys think they've won the game. Let's hand it to them. They think they've won. They haven't won. Let's go out and show them who's the better team."
Yeah, Jackson.
Hey, way to go, Deshaun. Yeah. All right.
All right, so the Eagles move on to play the Falcons now. They've played the Falcons last year on opening night. That game was ugly. They played the Falcons in the playoffs, obviously, 2 years ago. That game was ugly. What's the PT looking at for a Tuesday nighter? I mean, on Tuesday for the Sunday nighter.
Well, and here's the thing. So it's a ticked-off Falcons team that they're going to get to, right? Because the Falcons did not look like the Atlanta Falcons that we know. So, what am I looking for? Well, look, anytime you go to somebody else's house, you're going to have some trouble. Okay, first game on the road, I think that. I don't know what the early number is, but I know this, that,
1.5, I've seen it, about 1.5.
Yeah, or almost a pick 'em, right? If the Eagles can stay out of their own way, I don't see any reason they don't come out of that 2-0. But they have to stay out of their own way, and that's the thing. I mean, they came out pretty tight. They've got to have some of the kinks worked out now, don't you think?
I feel much better about where the team is based on the fact that they got off to the slow start like we all kind of thought, and then they rebounded very quickly. Like by the second half, they had, in that whole preseason, no preseason, it goes back to these guys don't really need the preseason. They just need to get a half of football under their belt, and then all of a sudden, it's one of those things where it's like, you don't really know how to do something, but when you have to do it, you kind of figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that was their preseason, quite frankly, that game that we watched on Sunday. Or the first half was really what you're going to call their preseason. But, boy, the Falcons did not look good going out and just getting trampled to, getting just embarrassed to the Vikings. That, to me, I don't know what that says. If that says that they weren't prepared, they weren't ready, I'm not quite sure. And quite frankly, Coach Quinn, for them, he was at a loss for words. You could see him standing at the microphones on Sunday with that look like, the hell am I supposed to say about this? We sucked.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get PT's quick hits on this Tuesday with Thompson. Level of surprise, all right, on scales of 1 to 5, PT's level of surprise. Cleveland gets blown out by 30.
3.
Really?
Yeah, 3, because, I wasn't shocked because I just think that, once it's just like a pitcher that once a rookie pitcher comes in, he can get away once. The Browns last year, Baker Mayfield last year, those guys, look, Tennessee took it to them, and Tennessee's no joke. And I think that, there are a lot of people out there that were hyping up the Browns. A lot of people had the Browns playoff Brown. I wasn't shocked by that. I thought you could almost call that sophomore slump.
Okay. Level of surprise, Baltimore's puts 59 up on Miami.
Oh, take the over in every team that plays Miami. I mean, like you've been talking about today, reportedly, and John says it too because it's pro football talk, but, that if you're on the Dolphins roster, you're happy to get it. It's like, hey, I'm in the NFL. Damn, I'm on the Dolphins. Always take the over if the Dolphins are playing somebody.
All right, level of surprise that Atlanta lost at Minnesota. Minnesota ran the ball like 40 times on them.
Right. It's not that they lost. It's how they lost. And, kudos to Minnesota, too. They did not deviate from what their game plan is, right? Their coach said, we're going to run the ball more, and, boy, they sure as heck did. What was Cousins, 8 for 10? Are you kidding me? That's not like 8 for 10 in the preseason game, and then they pulled him after the first quarter. 8 for 10 total. Jeez.
Yeah, really. 84 million. Here you get 10 passes.
Yeah, that's what it'd be nice. What's that per pass?
Jets blow a 16-point lead.
The Jets. Aren't they just a wonderful anomaly, the Jets? I saw some Jets fans. I saw Muhammad Wilkerson jersey at the book at Bally's the other day. God bless the Jets. If they blow the lead, no, that doesn't surprise me at all. They don't know what they're doing yet.
Yeah.
They don't know how to win, and they certainly don't know how to close.
I had them in one of my
You gotta be able to
3-team
close.
parlays, and they blew it for me. I had them 2.5. I thought you're at home. Buffalo stinks. You got all this,
But
surprise
I thought you
around.
hit the parlay. Did you
No,
hit
I
the
had a
parlay?
5-teamer that I hit. I would have hit a 3-teamer had the Jets won.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, level of surprise. Rams crossed the country and beat Carolina.
I was surprised by that.
Really?
Everybody has that West Coast. I put that probably on a good 3.5 to maybe even a 4. Carolina at home, you feel like season opener, and you feel like the Rams. Any team that goes west to east has the trouble, and I was surprised by that. But look, the Rams didn't have any problem, pulling out in the end. And there's a reason the Rams made it all the way to the big game last year.
Kansas City goes on the road and knocks out Nick Foles.
Great googly moogly. Remember that commercial with the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Right? Who are the chefs?
Who are the chefs?
Poor Nick Foles, but he did it very in a Folesian way, and you might have said that the other day too. I couldn't agree more with that. He throws a touchdown, but then breaks his clavicle. Oh, Nick.
Yeah. He'll be out to at least week 11.
Right. People said that he tripped over his. Oh wait, I can't say that on the radio.
Easy there.
40-20 level of surprise. I wouldn't have thought. I don't know. The Chiefs are bloated for bear, aren't they? I'm not surprised that they won. I'm surprised they won by that much.
Indianapolis goes to the Chargers. I don't think that's all that surprising. The Chargers win. The Bengals kept it close with Seattle. Dallas blows out the Giants. How about that?
Yeah, it's funny because didn't the Giants go up 7-0 in that game, and people are thinking hopefully, maybe, and then reality sunk in, and the Giants woke up and realized we're terrible. In fact, we're so bad. We're so bad. David Jones, get in there and throw the ball.
Daniel Jones.
You try it. What Daniel? Daniel.
Yeah.
220, 221, whatever it takes.
Prescott threw for 405 yards in that game. You got to tie Arizona and Detroit.
That was awful. I mean, one of the problems that we had with that, too, is that because we were watching that game on Red Zone, waiting, tie, we missed, Rob Gronkowski taking his shirt off and throwing a ball at Gillette Stadium or whatever the pregame stuff was. You can't watch two things at once.
No, I was watching the game on Fox where they showed the rest of that game, and I flipped over to the Sunday night game afterwards, and they actually made reference during the game that many people must have missed our open because that game had, gone long.
Yep, very much so.
San
we were part of that.
Francisco beats Tampa, and Bruce Arians. I thought he maybe would fix Winston and make them more respectable. That was the most shocking result of the weekend for me. Was 31-17 San Francisco over Tampa.
Yeah, I would put that at a full 5. I'm right there with you. And not just that. Look at what the score was at halftime. The shock is that when the Buccaneers go to the locker room at the half up 7-6, and you think, well, it's ugly, but it's another 49ers, bleh, right? And then they come out and put up 14 and 11 in the third and fourth quarter. I mean, holy cow, who woke up the Niners?
Right, and then Pittsburgh got blown out on Sunday night. How long did you last on that one?
I don't think I even made it to halftime. I was so tired, and the fact of the matter is that the Patriots are a dynasty right now, and the Steelers can't get out of their own way, and that's. I will never feel bad for the Steelers, quite frankly. Plus, I'll never feel bad for the Patriots either.
Yeah. Well, they're two hard teams to feel bad about. They've had a lot of success. Last night, you had 2 Monday Nighters. First, where did the PT finally bail out on the Monday night doubleheader last night? How far did you make it?
So I'm at the Phillies game first and foremost, but we were tracking the Saints game big time because we had Drew Brees as our fantasy quarterback. We had Alvin Kamara. We were definitely watching, and we were playing against Deshaun Watson. So when I saw tweets going up that the blue tent was up, I was like, oh, boy, this could be good for us, And then even then, in the late game, we had Philip Lindsay, and God dang, the Broncos are not good. I mean, I made it to about just about halftime in the second.
Yeah, I don't understand. Okay, these are one of the things that baffles me about sports. You got a guy like John Elway, he's the executive there. How does he think that his team is Joe Flacco away from being good and basically waste a whole season now with Joe Flacco as his quarterback. Those are the kind of things that are just mystifying to me when you're an executive in a sport.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, look at the people that he's had in there too. Wasn't this a franchise that had Simeon? Didn't it have like Tim Tebow at one point? I mean, the Broncos have not.
The last time they've won a playoff game is with Tim Tebow. No, I take that back. They won a Super Bowl, but obviously Tebow was one of the few quarterbacks that they had. Other than that aberration where they had Manning for those 2 years, then they end up winning the Super Bowl.
They had the Manning Reclamation Project where he wanted to prove he could still play. But you know what it really does, Mike, is it just shows you how freaking hard it is to land on a true franchise quarterback. We're all so quick to dump a bunch of money at a guy, throw a ton of money at a guy and say he's the guy. But it's so hard. You know, I mean, in Baltimore now they're going nuts. Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns. Woohoo! We've hit on it. Hey, slow your roll there, homie. Like, that's one unbelievable game. Let's see if
I don't know, man. He was pretty impressive. And look, I think a lot of people, and he said it, he made the joke, like, pretty good for a running back. Like, I think, like, you know, I don't think that it was fair to kind of be critical of it. I just don't think he was going to be some crazy franchise-changing quarterback. However, you know, I think he's showing people that he is a little bit more advanced than people were giving him credit for. That's all. And look, that team has struggled offensively. I mean, they had Joe Flacco and won a Super Bowl, and, you know, it's because of the defense. That team has just struggled offensively for years and years and years. I mean,
that's
never
the history of that franchise. They won a defense, or they won a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer because they had a good defense.
Yes, and they won a Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl with Dilfer, and they were and Flacco. Right, I was totally blanked on Flacco for a second. Yeah, Flacco, 2 guys who are just not like great quarterbacks, and it was all because of how good their defense was. So week 1 is in the books. We got Thursday Night Football coming up. By the way, the Pete Thompson Show, Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. By the way, we were all out about Saturday. We were over at the William Hill Sportsbook at Ocean. And what happened over there? You sent me some receipt or something. I don't know what happened.
That was because I had to borrow money for you to get out of the parking garage. And you were all mad that I had to borrow $8, and I was trying to show you that your one beer, which is much fancier than my Miller Lite, cost $8. So I was trying to say, hey, we're even. That's all I was trying to say with the receipt.
Gotcha. All right. Because
did you see, though, that in typical PT fashion that I tweeted at the wrong guy? One guy I got right, but the second guy, I had the wrong guy.
No. Did you try tweeting at the 2 guys that were there?
I tweeted at the one guy, right? I tweeted at the one guy. I had him right. But then the other guy's name was Tom, and he said he was from Fox News Radio or something. So I look up Tom Fox News Radio, and this guy kind of looks like the guy. And he's got this unbelievable bio of, like, you know, that he's been with he's been on Colbert. He was one of Conan's writers. And I'm like, holy cow, this was the guy we were hanging out with. So I tweeted him, and the guy Dale, who's much easier to find because, you know, how many conservative Dales are there in Alabama, right? So I tracked that guy down, no problem. He writes back like, no, you got the wrong Tom. So typical PT.
Yeah, I don't see that tweet. I'm looking through your timeline here. I don't see it.
It was in there, unless the Dale guy deleted it. Maybe he did. Hey, or maybe, you know who deleted it? The actual Tom that didn't want to be associated with any of us. Thanks to... what's this, @DoubleTone on Twitter for saying, awesome reference, Pete Thompson, my favorite movie. You going to do this 220, 220, 221, whatever it takes.
How are you seeing this in real time?
I've got Twitter up on my laptop that I'm sitting in front of.
Wow, PT is now multitasking. This is a revelation.
Yeah, I thought you were going to fall over here when I told you. So
anything up and ready for the Saturday Pete Thompson Show, or are we a little too early in the week?
A little early, but, you know, I know I'll tell you by Friday. And I know that I'll tell you that, you know, the usuals will be there, the cast of characters, the Mike McGarry, the Kevin Minnick, and that John McClellan. Hey, here, before I leave you, by the way, did you realize that the Flyers logo
I was literally down? This was going to be, what do you guys call it in TV, like the fluff piece?
Your tease, your final question?
That little, like, you know, crossover there?
Crosstalk. It's going to be the crosstalk.
Yeah, where, so what is the big thing, like, I had read that Snyder never wanted the line to go through the logo.
Snyder never wanted the line to go through the logo, so he liked the dual logo. But the truth of the matter is, to me, visually, like one logo on each side of the red line, visually one gigantic line or one gigantic logo, the Blackhawks, when they switched to that, they won the cup. I'm okay with it. Like, that to me looks normal. That to me looks good.
Yeah, they've always had like two smaller logos in the center circle, right?
Yes. So now they've gone back to one gigantic Flyers logo.
And you like that better?
Very much so.
Will that help them win any more games? That's the big question.
No, their roster is what it is. But I'll still go.
Speaking of their roster, PT, they've announced their training camp roster and their schedule.
I got to follow that Kevin Durso to find out what's going on.
He posted it up on our website just about an hour or so ago. And, you can check out the full roster at 97.3 ESPN, because starting Monday and continuing Tuesday, the team will have split sessions. And we are back with Flyers hockey. Are you all flyered up, Peter?
Sure. I've been purchasing more Flyers gear, too, by the way, because of that big trip I'm taking in December, our Flyers road trip. Got to be fired up.
All right, don't forget Pete Thompson, the Pete Thompson Show. This and every Tuesday, we have Tuesday with Thompson, but the Pete Thompson Show Saturday at 8 a.m. to 10, right before Billy Schweim in the locker room, right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Schweimer's all pumped. He won his fantasy football game after everybody gave him a bunch of crap.
Yeah, and you know what? PT lost by like 4 stinking points. I'm not happy about that.
Well, you should have been in our league, but you were the only person, like normal, that decided not to have the camaraderie of the work league and did not do it.
Be a leader, not a follower, Mike. I consider myself a leader.
Yep. Well, you're not good at that either, Peter.
Not a follower.
All right, well, here you're on Saturday. PT Power Hour later on.
Yeah, Friday. Am I going to see you Friday? Is that right? Where are you?
Right here.
In studio?
Good question, actually, because we've been all over the place. But
yeah, that's what I mean.
I
have to ask these things.
I'm looking for my travel agent. Am I here? Yes, I'm here.
All right, sounds good. In touch.
By the way, you missed a huge crowd yesterday down at the Barefoot Beach Bar.
I saw the picture. I saw you put it up on
Twitter. Yeah, but
that
didn't do it justice.
Yeah?
No, it was. I'm telling you, by the end of that show, it was more crowd than it was on a summer day.
Well, I hope you had some orange.
My man Pat was slinging them back there. He's the man.
Oh, I love Pat. Yeah, absolutely. Very much so. Carly, all the people down there. Good people.
All right, Pete.
All right, buddy.